Okay, best. Okay, and then no, no, you monsters, you monsters. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to another Top 10 Wednesday, or Top 10's Day if you'd prefer. So the Oscar nominations were just released yesterday morning, and in typical fashion, people rejoiced. They laughed, cried, and above all else, took to Twitter to express their anger and frustrations over what got snubbed. So that will be the focus for today's video, Top 10 Oscar Nomination Snubs. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. So starting off at number 10 is going to be Sam Rockwell for Moon, and missing out on the nomination for Best Leading Actor. I mean, let's face it, the guy crushed it in that movie. It's probably my favorite performance of his. He's Sam Rockwell playing multiple Sam Rockwells, and he's like the only person in this movie. You have a robot that's voiced by Kevin Spacey, but Sam Rockwell is the only human in this movie that we see and spend time with, and he completely carries this movie. It is such a fantastic and well-written and thoughtful movie, and then he was absolutely snubbed of even a nomination, let alone a win. Coming in at number 9 is Edward Norton and Brad Pitt for Fight Club, and they either one could have got Best Lead and Best Supporting. It doesn't really matter, but Fight Club has become an iconic flick at this time, whether it's the bar soap poster or Edward Norton beating the shit out of himself. This movie is loved by many and almost all, if I dare say so myself, so the fact that it was almost nominated for no Oscars whatsoever blows my mind, especially for Edward Norton in his second best performance in my mind, only behind American History X. And when isn't Brad Pitt phenomenal, honestly? Even in his bad movies, he's still the shining star in them. The fact that this is arguably the two of those actors' biggest movie and that they don't have the nominations for it, just what? Coming at number 8 is the Lego Movie being snubbed of a Best Animated Feature nomination. That was by far the best animated feature of that year because it was the best animated feature in years. The Lego Movie was a huge critical success, it was loved by audiences, it was a huge financial success. We're getting the sequel very shortly. It just doesn't make any sense to me, even to refer back to last year in which Boss Baby and Ferdinand got nominated, but the Lego Movie did not. Dang it. Next, coming in at number 7 is The Shining for literally anything. I mean, if you guys don't know by now, because The Shining is one of the biggest horror movies ever, it was actually critically panned upon release. Like, nobody really liked it, at least not critical wise. And with that being said, it didn't get nominated for anything. Yeah, no nomination for Jack Nicholson, no nomination for Shelley Duvall, even though this movie messed her up. No nomination for the score, no nomination for the cinematography, the set design, nothing. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Coming in at number 6 is Andy Serkis for Anything. The guy has never received an Oscar nomination. The one that absolutely destroyed and crushed me the most was the fact that his last go-around as Caesar in War for the Planet of the Apes was not nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role. He could have gotten it for any one of the Planet of the Apes movies, or he could have got it as supporting actor for the Lord of the Rings movies. What does the Academy have against people doing motion capture? Motion capture almost never gets nominated. They're still characters, there are still actors working their asses off and pouring their heart and souls into these roles, but just because they're wearing a green scoot with polka dots on their face, the Academy's like, well, we'd look pretty foolish if we had a walking and talking ape on the screen for Best Actor, wouldn't we? It's like, no, this guy gave it his all, and it was his last go-around as Caesar, and then he was absolutely snubbed. Coming in at number 5 is Straight Outta Compton, again for almost anything. It was nominated for 1 Oscar, and I don't comprehend how. Should have been a Best Picture nomination for sure, and it should have gotten plenty of others, whether it was lead actors, supporting actors, anything. It could have taken any, like sound editing, sound mixing. I would even have taken it for those, but it got nothing. It was completely snubbed of almost anything at the Oscars. Coming in at number 4, and this one is where I said I was gonna get, cheat a little bit like I did with Andy Serkis and be a bit broad, and that is just a good chunk of 2019 snubs. I'm not going to place any ill will on those who did get nominated, congratulations to them, but the few that should have been and did not, that broke my heart, and that is Toni Collette for Hereditary, Timothée Chalamet for Beautiful Boy, Claire Foy for First Man, Aquaman for Best Visuals, A Quiet Place for almost anything. It got nominated for what? Sound mixing? Bradley Cooper or Ari Aster for Best Director, that was Hereditary and A Star is Born, Emily Blunt for either A Quiet Place or Mary Poppins Returns, and Eighth Grade also snubbed. All of those movies, all of those actors, actresses, directors, all snubbed. These were some of the best movies and performances of the entire year. So the fact that they were not even recognized, some of them not at all. Hereditary was not recognized at all for anything. It boggles my mind. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Coming in at number 3, and this one's gonna sound like I'm kind of whining like a little baby here, because this movie did get nominated for 8 Oscars, but considering what this movie is, and that is The Dark Knight, and the fact that it was not nominated for Best Picture. And the only reason I put that in this place is because this morning Black Panther was nominated. Now congratulations to the Black Panther team and the movie, which I really do enjoy, but the fact that that is the first ever superhero movie to be nominated over The Dark Knight really just hurts my brain. But The Dark Knight definitely should have got it, as well as The Dark Knight was also not nominated for Best Score. Hans Zimmer is my man, along with James Newton Howard. They made one of the best, if not the absolute best, superhero movie score, or movie score in general, almost ever in my mind. Not necessarily the most iconic. And here, I'll just give you a little bonus point right quick too, just to kind of, grind your gears a little bit more. Jurassic frigging Park did not get a nomination for Best Score. Yeah, that iconic score that's playing in your head right now was not nominated. Coming in at number 2 is one that I still hear people complaining about today, even though it was back in 2014, and that is Jake Gyllenhaal getting snubbed for his performance in Nightcrawler. This dude became a completely different person. He slimmed down to just skin and bones. The fact that it was his best performance of his entire career, the best performance of that year, really does say something. I will complain about that until the day I die. Coming in at the number 1 spot, and this may not necessarily be most people's idea of the biggest snub, but it is the one that hurts me the most. It's the one that is closest to my heart, and that is Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart for Logan. The fact that it was Hugh Jackman's last go-around and Patrick Stewart's last go-around as these iconic characters that they'd been playing for almost 2 full decades, and they were not nominated. And this movie wasn't recognized at all besides Best Adapted Screenplay. I think that was one of the biggest snubs of all time. It's on my list as the biggest snub just because of how close I hold that movie to my widow heart. So those are my top 10 picks for the biggest Oscar nomination snubs. Let me know what your top 10 are, and once again, be sure to suggest what you want to see for the next Top 10 Wednesday. And be sure to check me out on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Links will be in the description and at the end of the video. And be sure to check out my Instagram page every Friday for the Fan Vote Friday. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and that's a wrap. The top 10 horror movies that... Jump scares don't make horror movies scary!